Good afternoon. I think I can move this way. That's very good. Yes, that's my name, and I'll be giving you a presentation today on mechanization of agriculture for industrialization in Kenya. This is where we are on the left-hand side. This lady carrying a baby and using a hoe. But it's not a very comfortable existence, huh? So we hope to take her to the other side. Now, within the context we are working on is, first of all, the African Union, African-wide. It's Agenda 2063 of the African Union, which is essentially an agenda for industrializing Africa by the year 2063. In other words, 100 years since the AU was formed. The other one, which is guiding us locally, is Vision 2030. It's a vision of industrializing Kenya to a middle-income country by the year 2030. It was enunciated in the year 2004. At that time, the GDP per capita of a Kenyan was about $200, and we wanted to go to 10,000. So that's where we are working towards in the next 7 years. And what is industrialization? It's a process by which a country builds its capacity to process raw materials for consumption or further production. In other words, we have an enhanced capacity to produce those things that society needs. And what is agricultural mechanization? It is put the inputs which we know as engineers, which mechanize it, which bring machines to it, which brings systems, structures to agriculture that make agriculture more productive. In other words, the production is more, we can produce more in agriculture, and the productivity is higher. We can have greater efficiency of production. And agricultural mechanization increases the input of power to farming activities, productivity, and so on. A human being, if you look at a human being, how many horsepower does a human being produce when they're digging? A small part, eh? And how much horsepower does a horse produce? Or one horsepower. And how much horsepower does a tractor produce? Huh? Tractors are from what? 40, 50, 100, 200, yeah? So you see, the capacity of a tractor to do work is much, much, much more than that of the poor lady we saw up there. Then, it improves the timeliness of production. In other words, if rains come, and rains don't last very long, and we have short time to produce to our farms, to work in there. If we don't mechanize it by having mechanical power, by having irrigation, by having whatever it is there, then we don't have this timeliness of production. And it accomplishes and improves the quality of work. If you look at the plowing by a tractor and you look at the plowing by a human being and so on, the quality of the work of a tractor can be controlled. We're going to look at that a little more. You can have modern sensors and other things and disturb the soil in a very controlled manner, which is much better for producing a seedbed. And then the last thing about here is that it can then produce goods in agriculture which are at par with other industrial goods and be part of industrialization. Now, those are just some machines. Now, what is industrialization itself? We've said about it. I'm not going to go into the details. There are many theories about what it happens in industrialization, why it happens, and so on. But all we know is that for you to industrialize as countries, you must, first of all, have food security. The first and most important food security is for the farmers, those people producing. If they don't eat enough, they will not have enough energy to work. Then, the persons working in other sectors other than agriculture also have to be fed from agriculture. So you need enough food to produce those in agriculture to feed them and those outside agriculture. So the theories are that in England, where there was the first industrial revolution, there was, first of all, an agricultural revolution, where agriculture was able to produce enough food to feed people. And this is sometimes attributed to the fact that before that time, the workers, people working, were eating bread, and bread was expensive to produce. But then potatoes came from South America and were much, much cheaper. So you were able to feed people in society in a much cheaper level, which led to the agricultural revolution. Then, now these ones are just theories again. Now, in terms of agricultural mechanization, one of the most important turning points is that in 1902, the first tractor which was viable was produced driven by the internal combustion engine, was produced by the Ford company. There had been tractors before that which were using steam power, but this was a good turn point. Then another thing which we'll see, which is very important in agricultural mechanization at the moment, is that in 1966, electronic monitoring devices in agriculture were introduced in 1966. So then in 1990s, we started getting implements which could do mapping. Those of you who went to school like me at the same time, remember that we were taught mainly about chain surveying when we were taught surveying. How many of you are taught like that? Engineer Kerry Orege. The interns, how are you taught how to survey these days? GPS, Yeah, so those things have become very important to agriculture. The GPS became important, and then in the 21st century, we started getting things like precision agriculture, where you could be precise in terms of where you plant, how you plant, where you add water, where you add fertilizer, where you add herbicides, where you add many things. You could be precise in what you are doing in agriculture. That started in the 2000s. So now, precision agriculture is when we go to a field and do exactly what we want there. You don't just put fertilizer everywhere, even in an area that it doesn't need it. You know the properties of the soil there, and you put just enough there. Whatever it is, if it is water, where the crops are telling you that we are now stressed for water, then you give them water. When they don't need the water, you save the water. That's what it is all about. And then these days, things like agricultural drones have really taken off. 2 weeks ago, I was at a conference of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in Rome. And these things have become very big in agriculture in places like China and Europe. And the self-drive tractors have also really come in big in those countries. This is just looking at that precision agriculture. And center pivot irrigation, this is Galana Kulalu. This is the guy who conceptualized Galana Kulalu. So you can reward him if they are profit, but you can also punish him, if they are So then, African countries tell us that they are agricultural, many of them. But if there is one season of drought, then they can't feed themselves. They have to get food from Idaho, Ohio, wherever it is. Latest is Ukraine. They have to get food from Ukraine. Yet they tell us that they are agricultural countries. What a contradiction. And the reason why this is so is that those people are very highly mechanized in their agriculture, and we are not. Now, just to summarize it, over the last 70 years, there have been schools of thought arguing about mechanizing agriculture in Africa, and Kenya in particular. There's a group, the first one, says that we should not mechanize agriculture using large-scale modern techniques. The best we should do is to use improved hand tools, improved draft animal power. It's a naughty boy. 5 minutes, huh? It's really rushing me. They say that we should not do this because if we mechanize, then we will create unemployment and other things and so forth. But the countries which have the lowest unemployment rates have the highest levels of agricultural mechanization. Now, the second group says that this group is bogus. 60, 70 years ago, they told Africans, go to the highest level of mechanization. Go immediately. Forget about these people, this UN, forget about them, what they're telling you. Just industrialize, go to the large-scale farms immediately. Then there is a third group which says that we should have a mixture of both, of the hand tools and this other mechanization. We should have some midway point. And that is what we saw being adopted by China and India. They said, we still have these many little farms. We are going to mechanize, but we'll do it in a gradual way. So you see, Chinese got their revolution in 1949. Now they are more or less mechanized agriculture. That's about 70-something years. The Indians are also going there, a little slower, but going there. All those Asian countries, you see them moving, but moving slowly. Now, from an engineering perspective, agricultural production is a thermodynamic process. And you cannot violate the first law of thermodynamics. What you put in is what you can get out. So you can have a strategy of increasing mechanization, but you must have mechanization continuously if we want to go forward. Yes, this is contribution of agriculture to our GDP. It's 26%, employs 80%. That means it is very efficient or very inefficient. If it employs so many people and contributes only 26%. Things which are, the age of the farmers is average age is 62 years, they're telling us. Is it 60 or 62? 62 years. So people in my peer group are the farmers in Kenya. The young people don't want to go. And one reason why they don't want to go into agriculture is that it is drudgery, it is associated with backwardness, it has got very little returns. So for us to make young people go into agriculture, we must mechanize it. I think I have been rushed so much. I have to finish. This thing is not going down anymore. Peleka hiyo kitu chini. Go down, go down, go down. Yeah, just remove. Just go down. Yeah, this shows what happens in mechanization in Kenya. Go down again. This just talks about Kenyan agriculture, how it started from colonial periods. It's the whites who are allowed in the big highlands. The blacks were put somewhere in things called reserves, and they were supposed to work very hard and produce taxes to subsidize the European farms. Let's go down there again. Then Kenya's agricultural mechanization policy, 2021. Yeah, they have now come up with a policy. And let's go down to the policy, see what it says. First of all, it says that we should have training, research, and technology development in that policy. We should have local manufacture and distribution. And that's why I said agricultural mechanization is a strategy in industrialization. That agriculture requires machines which you produce in industry. It requires chemicals which you produce in industry in the same country. Then agriculture produces agricultural products which we consume. The first and most important one is food. So it is part of that policy. And there are quality assurance mechanisms, and then investment mechanisms. All these things have to be financed from somehow. In extenso, there I was talking about how to mobilize funds and finance agriculture. You know, from public sources, private sources. Yesterday we had Galana Kulalu here. It was a PPP, yeah? And it is about agriculture. It's about getting those resources. The government has put banks like Agricultural Finance Bank for agriculture in Kenya. We also have Cooperative Bank, which started as an agricultural bank. So that investment is also very important. And extension and technology adoption. Extension used to be very strong in Kenya because farmers must be trained, things must be extended. This mechanization must be extended to be there. And then improve institutional and legal framework. Let's go down. The next one. Can I take it down here? Yeah. Just go down, just go down. Yeah. Now we have livestock systems that it is not just about crop production. We have livestock systems. And yesterday we had somebody from Kenya Meat Commission giving us a very good presentation. For instance, he just said that transporting animals under stressful conditions leads to lower incomes and lower products and production from that. So these are mechanization issues. Producing animals in animal housing is also part of that issue. Let's go down, let's go down. Fisheries was talked about a little while ago as part of the system. And now we have challenges like inadequate machinery, inadequate staff, lack of credit and finance, decreasing land sizes. Decreasing land sizes is a very serious issue. Places where we had farms which were viable, many of them, when the guy dies, they go to the sons. The other guy, until they become not viable for agriculture. So it's something which I think we even recognize in our new constitution, and we talked about minimum and maximum land sizes. Then gender imbalance and the youth. A lot of these people called farmers in the rural areas, sometimes many of them are women. And then the youth are absent from it. Yes. Go down, the next one. Just go down. Yeah, let's go down. I've talked about that. Sorry, go back. Go back. Yes, thank you very much. There was too little time, but there's no way we can continue to have food security without producing enough food for ourselves. The only way we can produce enough food for ourselves is to mechanize our agriculture. And if we mechanize our agriculture, it will be a big strategy in our industrialization. Thank you very much.